the issue we have with insecurity, it's been on and it's really getting worse. You see, across different parts of the country. But the heart-wrenching and heartbreaking part was the one that happened in Oyo, and we've seen, videos that have been released. It's really, really heartbreaking. Statistics shows that about 2.2 trillion naira has been paid for ransom.
Government has emphasized shared responsibility among parents, teachers, communities, and even the state government. So from a legal standpoint, is there really something as shared responsibility in this case? And if there is, who is ultimately responsible?
A security personnel, an expert, was talking about kidnapping and how it happened. So he said one of his friend's younger brother was kidnapped. And then they went to the police. The police will refer them to a ransom negotiator.
Wow. Wow.
That is what he said, to a ransom negotiator. So it's a business, obviously.
When citizens do not feel safe, the first reaction is often emotional. But way beyond the emotion, we must ask a very pertinent question, and that is, who is responsible when security fails?
In Oyo State, the recent kidnapping of school children has raised serious national concern, with families still waiting for the return of their loved ones.
So I know we've had different statements and people would say it's a shared responsibility, right? But then the big question is, what does the law actually say about accountability? That would be the crux of our conversation right here on the briefing room, where we have conversations way beyond the headlines. My name is Esther and
And I am Kelvin Raphael. Stay with us.
Welcome. This is a briefing room right here, and this is where we have conversations way beyond the headline. A particular story has dominated the media space, and it's the issue of insecurity. It's not the first time it's happening. It's been on for years. And this administration, now you'd wonder why I'm talking about this administration. I'm talking about this administration because when they were about coming into power, they promised that they would secure the lives and property of citizens. However, the reverse has been the case. But today we'll take a look at the legal implication. Let's look at what the law says, and when the government has failed to protect the life and the lives and property of its citizens, what do we do with the law? Today, joining us on the briefing room, we have a guest, Olabisi Afolabi Esquire. It's a pleasure to have you join us here
Thank
today.
you. It's my pleasure to be here.
So the issue we have with insecurity, it's been on and it's really getting worse. You see, across different parts of the country. But the heart-wrenching and heartbreaking part was the one that happened in Oyo, and we've seen, videos that have been released. It's really, really heartbreaking. I want to first of all get your reaction to the insecurity that has been happening in this administration.
Well, thank you for having me once again. You see, it's very clear. The number one responsibility of the government under the Constitution is the protection of life and property.
That's
Section
right.
14 of the Constitution. Now, the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary responsibility of government. So a government that cannot protect lives and properties is not worth being there. It's a failure.
Okay, so from a legal perspective, do you think that the government is doing enough to tackle insecurity in the country?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The statistics are there. This government, under this government, there has been more kidnapping, there's been more terrorism than other governments. And when this government was coming in, it's promised Nigerians to secure their lives and properties. So going by that, going by its constitutional responsibility, going by its direct promise to the people, the government has failed.
So, but when you state the Constitution, doesn't it also reflect that there is an opening or a hole that we need to look into? And the reason I say this is because, yes, the Constitution has said the sole responsibility or the primary responsibility of the government is protection of lives and property. But the Constitution does not tell us the adverse or, the repercussion when you do not protect lives and property, which is an aspect we need to look into.
Well, if the Constitution has said this is your primary responsibility, it follows. I mean, you don't need a professor to tell you that if you have failed in that primary responsibility, then you have failed. It has to go. You have to go. There is no basis for you to keep being there. And apart from the constitutional responsibility that I mentioned the other time, this government directly promised Nigerians. There was a promise. There is a social contract between this government and the people.
I would take you back to when former President Goodluck Jonathan was in power. We heard about the bombing that happened across different parts. And when I started, I talked about the fact that insecurity it didn't just start, it's been on for years. However, it has deteriorated. And some persons, when you listen to this administration, they will tell you it didn't start with us. And, so how do we expect them to fix insecurity in 3 years that they've been in office, and by next year would have another election?
Well, I think it's very clear. This is diversional tactics. Okay, a government, somebody is campaigning, wants to come to office. This person is aware of its responsibility under the Constitution, right? This person made a promise, a direct promise to Nigerians. Now, you are now giving us excuse as to why you cannot fulfill that promise. It's looking for excuse. I mean, if this government cannot do it, why did they campaign in the first place? Why did they campaign? They should have left it to somebody who can do it. I mean, telling us that, this insecurity did not start with our government is an excuse. Not a very good one at that.
So because you already knew the problem that you inherited, and if you give us assurance that you are capable of solving this problem, then there's no reason why you shouldn't fix the problem. And if you fail to do so, there should be consequences, like she said, because the Constitution does not state any consequences for failure to carry out your responsibilities effectively. So I think that perhaps if there are consequences or accountability measures, for example, because given Tinubu's scorecard, the truth is he's not qualified to run for a second term. He has failed woefully, but now he's running for a second term. I think that perhaps there should be accountability measures which states that if you're unable to fulfill the promises you made during your first tenure, then you are unqualified to go for a second term. That way, leaders will begin to make promises that they can fulfill, okay? And that way we'll be able to hold them accountable and they would face the consequences of their actions.
I totally agree with you. That the accountability in democracy comes with elections. Yeah. You come and, give us your scorecard. Okay, as a time T1 in 2023, when you were campaigning, you told us you would do these, and that, right? The Constitution, like I said the other time, tells us your responsibility. You made a promise. So we have to compare your promises and your constitutional responsibilities to your scorecard.
Oh, okay. So speaking of scorecard, I have this right here, and this was posted this morning, and it's literally tagged scorecard, right? And I have a couple of them here that says NEC approved 112 as Nigeria's 112 rather as Nigeria's national emergency number. FEC approved $2.9 billion contracts for Lagos Green Line, Kano Metro, Kaduna Light Rail Project. FG approved establishment of Nigerian Aircraft Leasing Company. Federal government disbursed 11.8 billion naira to 6,842 tertiary institution staff across 141 schools. Nigerian economy expanded by 3.89% in Q1 of 2026. That is up from 3.13% in Q1 of 2025. And then we also have this one right here that says FG approved 4 billion naira for allowance of Nigerian students studying abroad. We also have another one that says FG commissioned Bini Ajokuta 330 kV substation. But I'm reading this just to relate it to what you've said in terms of scorecard. Now, this has been released as this current administration's scorecard. Let me take you to 2023, right? Between 2023 and 2024, statistics shows that about 2.2 trillion naira has been paid for ransom. Between 2023 and 2024. Now, we're not calculating 2025. We're also not calculating 2026. When you also look at the number of people that have been killed, let's even talk about the one that is happening, the one that is basically leading to the protests, right? The one that happened in Oyo. And when you now weigh the options, or when you weigh what has been released vis-a-vis what Nigerians are facing, one would ask, who are the people feeding him with this information?
Well, it's really unfortunate that this scorecard has no bearing with the people, right? So you're carrying out infrastructural projects, but the people are dying. Oh, you're doing a national toll line when people do not have network. How will they use it? I mean, there is no power. Power is even worse than when you came into power. You know, people are dying every day. More people are in poverty. These statistics, they are a diversion. They do not have resemblance to what an average Nigerian is going through on a daily basis. Yeah. It's out of tune with reality. Like I said the other time, let's go back to what this man promised Nigerians. Like I said, Constitution says your number one responsibility. As the government achieve this number one responsibility? The answer is no. You know, there are more people in poverty. So who are benefiting from this? That's the big question.
Relatives, friends and family.
who are benefiting?
But you know, you talked about Nigerians not benefiting and not basically feeling this administration, right? But Nigerians would still vote in 2027. Nigerians voted, APC had a primary election and the president got over 10 million votes. Now, by the way, those votes, they look suspicious. They look very suspicious. So here's the thing, whether they're suspicious or not, it has been admitted by INEC. It has been approved. So whatever it is that we say, it's as good as nothing, right? Because this is what has been recognized. And I know that there's some persons who are calculating the votes from last election. You know, when you come, and it gives a mental, if you're following the calculation closely, it gives a mental picture of what would happen in 2027. You know, where if they're telling you that only APC members were able to give the president over 10 million votes.
Close to 11 million.
Close to 11 million votes, which simply means in 2027, anything can happen and they will tell you, oh, we have the numbers.
Well, you see, these numbers are a joke. A serious joke. Now, if you follow these APC primaries, there are videos online where people count.
I 7,100, 1,000.
So that tells you all you need to know. You see, this government does not have something very important, credibility. It has lost credibility. Because the videos are online. The votes in the national election in 2023 is not even up to APC.
It's also votes, yes. Yeah.
It's not even up to it. So what are you talking about there? This government has no credibility. It has no credibility. So I will only take those figures with a pinch of salt. They're not something to be taken seriously.
So, but let's look at it legally, right? If you say the government has failed, this administration has failed, what does the law say that we can do, you know, to protect the people?
It's very simple. I'll go back to what I said the other time. Is that accountability in democracy, you know, comes in during elections, right? It comes in during election. You don't have to fight because obviously the APC has a comfortable majority in the Senate and the House of Reps, you know. So the option of an impeachment is very, very slim.
Yeah,
but even in the US, it is very, very difficult, you know, to impeach a president. The other time when Donald Trump was going to be impeached, The House of Rep impeached him more than twice, but the Senate will not agree. I mean, this is a very, very forward-thinking democracy. Now, us, So the option of impeachment is not realistic. It's not realistic. So the accountability in democracy comes during the next election. Let everybody get their PVC. Let's compare a scorecard and let's vote for the candidate of our choice. Very simple. So if Nigerians feel, from what we've been saying since morning, that this government is out of touch with reality, this government's policies, are only tuned to a select few, the majority of Nigerians should get their PVC and exercise their franchise. That's the way to go about it.
All right. So regarding this insecurity, the government has emphasized shared responsibility among parents, teachers, communities, and even the state government. So from a legal standpoint, is there really something as shared responsibility in this case? And if there is, who is ultimately responsible?
Well, again, it is diversionary tactics. Right. The Constitution provides, Section 214 and 215, that the security forces in Nigeria, the police, the army, are commanded by the president. The governors of the state do not have a say. They do not have a say. So if you have, all the power, it is disingenuous to now ask me to come and share your responsibility when I don't have the power.
But the states receive their security votes every month. They have their FEC allocation as well. What is your thoughts on state policing?
Well, it is long overdue. That's the truth. It's long overdue.
You don't see that we might have abuse of power from the state government if you have state policing.
Is the federal government not currently abusing its power? That's the question. Is the federal government not... we've seen in Lagos State where a police officer was openly defined chief security officer of Lagos State in Lagos. So how is it a chief security officer? We can't be talking about a problem that's something we cause in the future, presumably when we have not gotten there. State police is a necessity, and we need... this is one of the campaign promises of this president to start with. If you remember.
But you know that you would give it to this president because with the new IGP, that is Olatunji Disu, one of the documents or part of the document that have been submitted is the approval of state police as well.
You see, again, I don't think this government is serious. Now, when this government entered in 2023, one of the promises it made to Nigerians was state police. Now, this president went ahead to appoint somebody, an IGP, who is anti-state police.
Yeah.
Directly. So, what are you talking about? So now, he has removed Egbetokun. Now he has brought in Diso. Now, Diso is here. Do you remember that this government is telling the state government to submit a memorandum for state police? Another diversion. All the federal government had to do is to amend the Constitution. And allow state police. Section 214 and 215 of the Constitution. Amend that Constitution, allow for state police, and release money for it. I've always thought that state police will be a game changer for Nigeria. Because what it will be is that the states competing against each other on who has the best state police.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing.
Yeah, it is.
Look at Lagos and Ogun. Very close. You have people comparing Lagos police and Ogun police. This state government will do all in their power to be better than the other. Ondo and Ekiti are very close. Same thing will play out, right? So I think it is long overdue. This government is not sincere about state police. It isn't. This government has the majority in the Senate and the House of Reps. The governors in Nigeria are ready for state police. So if the National Assembly starts amending the Constitution, the state houses of assembly are ready. So what are we talking about submitting memorandum for state police? It's a diversionary tactics. This government is not ready. This government is buying time. It's the truth of the matter.
That is very interesting. So there's a topic, right, that I usually find very interesting, and it really pisses me off so much. The fact that bandits get to go to rehab instead of prison. These are people who have killed people, destroyed communities, right? And yet they are being sent to rehab instead of prison. So what does the law say? How does the law, what provision does the law make for dealing with terrorists?
Well, again,
and is there such thing as repentant bandits?
Well, allegedly, the Russian president said so. He said the Russian president, Vladimir Putin.
Good reference.
Yeah, he said it is God's responsibility. Well, I'm quoting now. It's God's responsibility to forgive a terrorist. It is my responsibility to send them to him.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, it is Tinubu's responsibility, unfortunately now, to rehabilitate and release bandits and kidnappers back into the society without justice. It's unfortunate. I mean, how do you want to promote social cohesion when somebody has killed people and then you release? I mean, what kind of rehabilitation will that kind of person go through? So the law is very clear. Anybody who commits an offense should face the full wrath of the law. You should be in the courts, having your day, and not in the rehab.
But when we say you should be in the courts, we also know our legal system and how they stretch for years. So sometimes the president also have, I'm sure there's something they call presidential pardon that happens once in a while, right? So even with our legal system as well, there is a loophole because you have the cases linger for so long.
Right? You see, this government does not want to work. Imagine we have election petition tribunal. Well, for politicians, right? If an election is conducted and then you are unsatisfied, you go to a specialized tribunal, within 45 days of that election, within the announcement of that result, to go there and ventilate your grievance. And there is a specified number of days that panel is supposed to sit and air and determine these election petitions.
Yes.
Why can't the government do the same for terrorism? Why can't we have anti-terrorism panels? It is within the power of a president to do it. It is just a case of misplacement of priority. You see, it is the case that the government is dancing to the beat of some powerful people. That's just the case, because if politicians can lose elections and go to a specialized tribunal, why can't we have that for terrorists? It does not make sense. So this government makes a lot of unreasonable excuse, mind you. Because they're not reasonable if you think about it. If you look at other comparable, happenings, even in the legal system, these things can work.
Yeah.
There is no...
It's not rocket science.
And why the need for a separate rehab? Is the prison not already a rehabilitation center? Are they not being rehabilitated in the prison already?
Well, the Nigerian prison has changed its name to National Correctional Center.
Yeah.
But I am very sure that the Nigerian Correctional Center is everything but a correctional center. People go in there and come out worse.
Yeah.
So...
Why is it exactly?
Why is it like that? See, is it corruption? There is money going into the Nigerian Correctional Center. There is money going through the Ministry of Interior. But these monies, they disappear along the way. Prisoners eat like animals. You need to see them when they bring them to court.
Yeah.
So Nigerian Correctional Center is everything but a correctional center. Now, if you want to give a criminal or an alleged criminal a preferential treatment, it shouldn't be somebody who has taken the lives of other people. It shouldn't be somebody who has kidnapped people and, taken ransom. It shouldn't be. So even if a pickpocket goes to that correctional center, I think a terrorist should go there as well. A bandit should go there as well. So there is no reason for preferential treatment. Yeah. So all I see here is that some powerful individuals who are sponsoring Nigerian insecurity, want a soft landing for their tools.
It's interesting that you made mention of powerful people who are sponsoring insecurity in Nigeria. We've got a short break, and when we return, we'll continue this conversation just to get your view. I was going to also ask you what you think about the people who are responsible for the insecurity in the nation. Is it possible that this has happened over the years and it's still happening, and we're not able to lay hold of, the group, the people that are involved? We'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. It's the briefing room right here.
Live.
Every brand has a story, but not every story is told the right way, and that's where Kavita comes in.
And I want to give a special shout out to Kavita Live.
Yeah, Kavita, we don't just shoot, we craft, create, and turn your vision into powerful stop-scrolling brand stories. Because visuals aren't meant to just look good, they are meant to capture attention, spark emotions, and drive actions. Kavita, structure for creatives.
Welcome back to the show. You can join the conversation in the comment section below. What do you think about this ongoing insecurity in the country? And if the government has failed woefully, what does the citizens need to do? Now, regarding the recent kidnapping in Oyo State, these children are aged between age 2 to 15, and they're still in captivity up until this very day. The government say they're making efforts to bring them back. Even the governor of Oyo State, Chiyi Makinde, has come to give us assurance, which is what they keep giving us. The president himself made, speaking of the president's speech, I don't know what that is really. Like the speech is, you saw the speech when he was asked about insecurity in the country. It's not cohesive. It's not understandable. And then it made me wonder, is this really a president? Is this the person who's ruling us? Is this the person we expect to tackle insecurity in the country? Because honestly, I don't think that such a person can tackle insecurity in the country. And then we also have the recent kidnapping in Kogi State. It's like every day there's a kidnap ongoing somewhere in Nigeria. It has become normal. Well, the Nigerian Union of Teachers have come out to protest in Ikeja. And then, while the governor of Oyo State was speaking, he also made mention that people should not protest. It is time for us to be united. We should not protest. And then he also said that terrorists, they're God's own people, and we should pray that God touches their hearts. Yeah, even the defense minister also made mention of us praying. Even the president also made mention of us praying. And this is where I have an issue. I'm talking about this prayer thing because I think that there is something fundamentally wrong with Nigerians. If your solution to insecurity is to pray, then there is something wrong with you. And when they say that Nigerians, Christians are part of the biggest problems we have in this country, it is 100% accurate, because Christians believe that all you have to do is pray. Just pray and believe and everything will work out. And we have been praying for decades, centuries, and nothing is working, right? Which means it's time for us to act. And it makes me, I'm like, do you guys even read your Bible? Because people like Gideon and his 300 men, we have people like Joseph, we have people like David, like Saul, they led battles in the Bible, because there's a place of God and there's a place of man. So this whole prayer thing, it's just really, really ridiculous.
Well, I am a Christian, and I believe in the efficacy of prayer. Right, I think I should start with that. But it is also my conviction that God has his own responsibilities, and we have our responsibilities. The drafters of our constitution, I'll go back to the constitution, were very wise when they said the security and the well-being of the people shall be the primary objective of the government. The constitution did not say the security and well-being of Nigerians shall be the primary responsibility of God. Right? So God has his own role to play in matters, and we have our own roles. So if we refuse to play our own role, it's a waste of time. Pray. It's a colossal waste of time. Misplacement of priority even. The time you're praying about this relevance, irrelevancies, you should go ahead and act. I mean, the president, it's unfortunate. The president asking us to go and pray. Where he has the power. He's the CNC, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces.
Yeah.
He appoints, the CDS. He appoints the IJP. He can command them anytime.
So if you're saying he should act, in your opinion, what would be the right direction right now in terms of seeing that this administration acts to tackle insecurity?
All right, so community policing. You say that's the way to go. And I wanted to mention something as well. See, the government recently approved 1,000 forest rangers for a particular, I think it's connected to a particular man called Sunday Igbo.
Yeah.
See, it's very, very unfortunate because I can go back in history, and see that these things do not end well. Yes. So in Anambra and Abia states in year 2000, there's kidnapping, robbery, and a lot of things happening. And the police were obviously overwhelmed. Now, there are some people called Bakassi boys.
Yeah.
They were a militia group. The government armed them and allowed them, to combat kidnapping and all of that. Now, there was a very, very bad criminal, a kidnapper and an armed robber. His name was Derrico Nwamama.
Yeah.
Now, the Bakassi boys were able to capture Derrico Nwamama. They killed him. They paraded him. But what happened after? They became a menace to the society. People. The same thing also happened with Oduduwa People's Congress. Government recognition, and then they became a menace to people, in the early 2000s. So going that route will never end well for anybody. It will never end well for anybody. Community policing. Now, we have a situation where a man from Kano State, is brought into the creeks of Oyo State to come and police Oyo State. He does not even know the terrain.
Yeah.
Community policing and intelligence gathering is the way to go. This government knows what to do. This government should call for international collaboration. It was in the news very recently that alongside the United States, Nigeria went for, I think, the second in command of ISIS. Nigeria can do that again. So 2 things the government needs to do. Community policing. The state police that we talked about. The government should fast track it. That's number 1. Number 2, international collaboration. If the government continues on this very path, we'll keep getting results. It's only a stupid person that repeats the same thing and expects a different result.
Speaking of international collaboration, we have been collaborating with the US. They brought in about 100 troops thereabout. That was early this year. And the goal was for them to train our military personnel. But what we didn't know was how long the training was going to last and when our military personnel will be fully ready to combat insecurity in the country. But with all that is going on, it has made me wonder if these trainers, the US military that is supposed to train our military personnel, if they are training our military personnel or the bandits. Because the bandits seem to be making huge progress. Their attack tactics seems to be improving and they're spreading really fast. They're expanding into other territories. They've taken over the north completely and now they're moving to the west and gradually to the south. So if we say that the US is really training our military personnel, then we should have been combating this. We should have been making progress, but we're not making progress. Instead, it is the bandits who are making progress.
Well, I feel that rightly, when the government is doing well, we should come out and say, well, the government is doing well in this way. And when the government is not doing well, we should also come out to say, this government is not doing well. Now, getting AFRIMA, I think it's AFRIMA, US African Command, to come and train, I don't know if that is true, but in places like this, so in things like this, it's always AFRIMA, US African Command. Now, getting AFRIMA to train Nigerian armed forces is a good way to go. But unfortunately, we have a lot of saboteurs in the government. We've had governors and important people like Sheikh Gumi, people like the governor of Sheikh Gumi, people like the governor of Zamfara State come out to say that the government knows where the terrorists are. The government has the list of the terrorist financiers. They have come out to say it. The government has not debunked it. Now, you see where the problem is. It is very clear. State police, you are dilly-dallying. You have, they published a list of terrorist financiers the other time. Nothing. We've had nothing. So when you have 10 Afrima experts coming to train our armed forces, but you are not doing what you are supposed to do to add up to that. What you have is the bandits, the kidnappers, and the terrorists making progress, appreciable progress, while we're just circling, at a point.
A particular video, and I will talk about Justice Crack, who was recently released. Apparently, he made a video of the quality of food that soldiers are being given, and he was arrested. Right? I think we have the attitude of wanting to attack people and go after them instead of listening to the message that they're trying to pass. And then the military, they are prohibited from speaking. They can't speak for themselves, which is a major issue, right? So everything is it's shredded in secrecy. They lack ammunition, they lack the infrastructure, there is no morale. The morale is really, really low. So how do you expect this same set of people who are not properly fed, who are not properly paid to protect the people? And then we hear that, this government spends how many billion on nail fund, and I'm wondering, when you spend all of that money, building infrastructure, you need human beings to use the infrastructure. So when you kill everybody, who would use the infrastructure?
And, regarding the Justice Crack case, I want to know, was that truly an offense?
Well, under the Armed Forces Act, right, members of the armed forces are prohibited, from speaking to the general public about operations and all of that, right? So it is, the jury is actually out whether, that section of the law is not against the right to freedom of expression. The jury is out. The court is yet to rule on that point. We need to have something on that point, because if you look at it, you cannot have armed forces, come to the social media and talk.
They never speak.
So that's against the Armed Forces Act. So I think there's a problem with that. Now, we've had time in the past where Femi Falana, SAN, has taken briefs of soldiers who were dismissed on, things like this. And it has gone up to the Supreme Court and he has gotten some judgments, some favorable judgments. But I think the huge problem here is the saboteurs in the armed forces. Now, I was listening to something on WhatsApp. A security personnel, an expert, was talking about kidnapping and how it happened. So he said one of his friend's younger brother was kidnapped, and then they went to the police. The police will refer them to a ransom negotiator.
Wow! Wow!
That is what he said, to a ransom negotiator. So it's a business. Obviously. So you have people who negotiate with the bandits and then they share the money. So somebody whose business is to negotiate with the bandits, for ransom. Do you think that person will want insecurity to end?
No.
It's a business. You don't want to shoot down where you're making money. So it's a huge problem. Even within the armed forces, you have saboteurs. In with it. So whatever the very patriotic members of the armed forces are doing is, it's not enough. Unfortunately, it's not enough. Why I wouldn't totally support, disclosure of,
But he was basically, so how do we protect?
He was just speaking about it.
How do we protect these individuals? How do they speak up? Because obviously, the truth is, when they suppress their anger, when they suppress their frustration, they take it out on civilians. And that is why you see that people walk on the road or you're driving and a policeman would stop you and he's so aggressive. A military personnel will stop you and they're so aggressive. So where do we draw the line? If we're saying that they cannot speak up, if we're saying that everything is shredded in secrecy, then how do we even protect ourselves? Because these people are meant to protect us. But if they're angry, if they're frustrated, how do they protect us?
Well, I was going to say this, from my legal mind, I was thinking, I told you the other time that the Armed Forces Act does not allow members of the armed forces. But that seemed to me could be against the rights of freedom of expression. So, as a lawyer that I am, I want to try that before the courts and ask the court to interpret it, because every law that is inconsistent against the Constitution is invalid to the point of the inconsistency. So I will have the courts interpret it so that we know what is going on, going forward. We know. And again, you see, we should pressure the government to do well for the armed forces. You see, it's not easy to lay your life down, for your fellow citizens. It was Jesus Christ that did that. Jesus Christ was the one that laid down his life for his friends. But our armed forces are laying down their lives for us. So we should, pressure the government to increase their salaries, to increase their allocations. The fallen heroes, their families should be treated well. Now, this will boost their confidence, it will boost their morale, and it also encourage willing Nigerians to join them. Because if I know that, I want to join the Nigerian Armed Forces, that if something happens to me, my dependents will be taken care of, I have a better chance, of joining.
When you travel abroad and you see military abroad, and then you come back to Nigeria and you see the military, you see the barrack in Nigeria, you're wondering.
The barrack looks like a prison.
But we're completely out of time. I would love to get your final words just before we wrap up the show.
Well, finally, I would like to say that this government should do better. You see, this government knows precisely what to do to end insecurity. We've talked so much about Section 14 of the Constitution that the primary obligation of the government is to secure the lives and properties of people. You can't escape that. Number two, the state police. The government, National Assembly should amend Section 214 and 215 of the Constitution to allow for state police so that we can have community policing. Things will go on from there. And again, you can't really tackle insecurity without tackling the source.
Yes.
People have come out, like I said the other time, Sheikh Gumi, the governor of Zamfara State, has said that the government knows where the terrorist financiers are. So this government has a job cut out for it.
Thank you so much. It's been an amazing time having this conversation with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
And this is where we'll wrap up today's edition of the Briefing Room. Do not forget to follow us across all of our social media platforms on Instagram at @Act1. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. My name is Esther Omelo.
And I am Kelvin Raphael, but just before we completely end the show, I want to say this. For those of you who thrive in the chaos, in the disaster of this country, those of you who do not wish to see Nigeria better because it benefits you, the truth is, this same chaos that you're enjoying right now will come back to bite you, because what goes around comes back around. People like you who have leisure centers and shortlets, and you think that, it's not going to affect you yet. The truth is, by the time the insecurity gets out of hand, people will no longer be able to leave their homes and your business will crumble. I know you know the people I'm talking about, the likes of Morenike Jigiwa, people like that. Yeah. We have a lot of them all over Africa, and the truth is, what goes around comes around. It's only a matter of time before the corruption you're benefiting from comes back to bite you. Stay safe out there.
Thank you.